everybody. How are you? Gosh, it feels like it's been a really long time. But it's good to see so many people again. So if you don't know me, my name is Nicole, and usually Abby teaches this class, but Abby is a little sick today, so I'm going to teach instead. So I am very excited to be here and to see you all again. So just like usual, I'm going to start with some general information about the class. Then we'll do a little review. And then after that, we're going to learn a lot of new stuff. Yay! All right, are you ready? Okay, here we go. All right, so of course today is not Tuesday, January 3rd. That was last week. But today we're going to review, and we're going to do review Grammar 5-1, which was countable and uncountable nouns. So the very last class that you had with Abby was, I think, maybe 2 weeks ago. And at that time, she talked about countable and uncountable nouns. So that information is important for today's lesson. So we'll do a little review. And then today's lesson is quantifiers. Quantifiers talk about quantity, how much of something. All right, so if you are a premium subscriber, you can see a lot of this information on the Smrt website. So the Smrt website is www.smartenglish.com/live. And we're doing Unit 5, so you can just click Me and then Open, and then Unit 5 is shopping. If you're not a premium subscriber, that's okay. You can watch these lessons for free. But if you want homework and feedback and tests and stuff like that, then you can pay to be a premium subscriber. The schedule is a little different this year than last year, and I have it here for you if you're interested. So for 2017, the new price is you get 1 day per week of class, and it's a total of $35 per month, and this is the schedule. So Tuesday, we have Abby and Josh at different times. And then Friday, we have Sean. And Monday, we have Neil. And everyone teaches different levels. So Abby's class, or this class, is English 115, which is the lowest level class. But it's okay if you're higher level. You can always learn new stuff. All right. Also, there's going to be new classes and times later this year. We're going to add some classes and add some times. All right, I'm just going to look and see if we have any questions in the chat, and then we'll get started with our review. All right, let me take a quick look. All right, looks like everybody's just saying hello. Awesome. And I missed all of you guys so much too. It's nice to be teaching a class again. All right. So here we go. Let's take a look at today's review. So we're going to review first countable and uncountable nouns. If you don't remember, a countable noun is a noun like chair, apple, TV, person. These are things that you can count. We can have 5 chairs, 1 apple, 2 TVs, 1 person. One way you can see if a noun is countable or uncountable is it looks different for singular and plural. So these are singular, meaning 1 chair, 1 apple, 1 TV, 1 person. But they change in the plural. Chairs, apples, TVs, people. Person has an irregular plural. Person, people. One person, 5 people. There's a few in English like that, like man, men, woman, women, child, children are the most common ones. All right, I can write those ones for you real quick. So man, men, woman, women. And this pronunciation here is a little strange. This O sounds like a short I. So this is woman, and this is I, women, woman, women. And then we have child, children. So countable nouns usually look different for singular and plural. Uncountable nouns don't change. So they look the same because we can't count exactly how many there are. The hard part is, well, how do you really know if a noun is countable or uncountable? Like, you don't have to memorize all of them. There are some rules that we can learn that will help us remember if they're countable or uncountable. Let's look at this little chart here below. It says here that these things are usually uncountable, so you can't count. For example, liquids. Liquids are things like water, juice, gasoline like petrol, mustard, ketchup, shampoo, conditioner, anything like that that's a liquid is uncountable. We can't count. We can't say 5 gasoline. Instead, we talk about the container, like or the measurement, like 5 gallons of gasoline or 3 cups of water. But if we just say water, if we just say gasoline, it is uncountable. And that's for liquids. Also, groups of very small things are usually uncountable. Things like sand. So if you walk on the beach, on the ground is sand. Salt, like for your food, salt. Hair, sugar, and rice. It's possible to count sand or salt or hair, but you're not going to. Like, that would be very strange, right? If I wanted to count my hair, I'd be like, 1, 2. It's just too difficult. So anything like this that's too difficult to count, groups of very small things, these are all going to be uncountable nouns. So these two are pretty easy, liquids and groups of very small things. Another thing that is usually uncountable is a school subject. A school subject is something that you study in school. Like, we study English, that's a school subject. Also math, history, art, music, biology. These are some other examples of school subjects. Maybe chemistry, philosophy. So when you talk about these words as school subjects, they are usually uncountable. Okay, I have just 3 more, and then I'll stop, and I'll check the chat for any questions or examples. All right, let's do 3 more. We have gerunds. Yay! Everyone loves gerunds, right? If you don't know the word gerund, A gerund is a verb ing. So verb ing. So it's when we change a verb to a noun. So for example, I'll put an example here. Swim is usually a verb, but if we want to make it the subject or the object of our sentence, we add ing. So for example, if I say, swimming is fun, swimming is the subject of the sentence. So that's why we have to add ing. So anytime you change a verb to a noun, we can add ing and make it a gerund. Okay, gerunds are always uncountable. Because you can't count swimming, right? 5 swimming? It doesn't make any sense. 6 dancing? Nope, can't say that. So gerunds are uncountable. So eating, driving, anything like that. Okay, have 2 more. And this one, it says most. Most ideas or concepts. This is not 100%. Ideas and concepts, you'll have to learn case by case. But many ideas and concepts are uncountable. So for example, love is uncountable. Respect, advice, imagination, communication, things like this are usually uncountable. But again, it's not 100%. These ones you'll have to learn case by case. Okay, last thing. General words. Very often, and again, it's not 100%, but general words like money, time, and furniture are usually uncountable. And what do I mean by general words? So money is a general idea, a general topic, and we usually talk about the specific examples. Like we talk about, for examples, dollars, cents, yen, yuan, real, peso. So we can count those. We can count dollars. We can count cents. But the big general idea, money, is uncountable. And it's the same with time and furniture. Those are my other 2 examples here, time and furniture. So time, again, is a general idea, time. But when we talk about the specific examples, the examples are countable. So for example, let's see, time is uncountable. But what are some specific examples of units of time? We have minutes, hours, days, months, years, centuries, decades, seconds. These are countable. Minutes, countable. Hours, countable. Days, countable. But time, the big idea, is uncountable. And the last example I had of that was furniture. If you don't know the word furniture, that's okay. So furniture is, again, uncountable. You know examples of furniture, even if you don't know the general word. Furniture includes things like beds, desks, chairs, tables, sofas. These are kinds or types of furniture. Furniture is the general idea, so it's uncountable. But beds, desks, chairs, tables, and sofas are all countable. Before class, in the chat, Rosa asked me about the word homework, and homework is similar. So homework is the general idea, so it's uncountable. And we have many kinds of homework. We have assignments, projects, presentations, essays, questions, sentences. So the specific examples are usually countable, but the big idea is usually uncountable. It's not 100%. For example, it works for fruit, but it doesn't work for vegetables. But it works a lot of the time, so it's helpful. All right, let me show that chart again. So let's review quickly. These things are usually uncountable. We have liquids, groups of very small things, school subjects, gerunds, most ideas or concepts, not 100%, and some general words. Again, it's not 100%. But this will help you so you don't have to memorize every word in English to know if it's countable or uncountable. If you just memorize this chart, that'll help a lot. Okay, so I'm going to go to the chat because I'm sure I have loads of questions and loads of examples. So let's take a look. Okay, let me scroll back a little and see what we have here. Okay, let's see. Someone asked about straightforward. Is the meaning direct? Yes, Mohammed. Straightforward means direct, easy to understand. So good. And then a few people asked, like Vivek asked and a few other people asked, am I going to stay? This week I'm going to teach. Next week, Abby will probably be back. My husband's still not feeling very well, and my baby is not sleeping, so I'm a little tired today. But I hope to be back in the future. I'm not sure when, though. Let's see, what else do we have? All right. Anything else? A little bit about pronunciations. You guys had a good conversation about that. Let's see, no questions? Oh, we have an example sentence. Do you guys like math? So Aaron asked the group. And math is a school subject, so it is uncountable. Math is an uncountable noun. We don't say maths in American English, and this is kind of an interesting one. In British English, sometimes people say maths as a plural noun. But in American English, this sounds really strange. Like, we would never say this in American English. In American English, it's just math. It's an uncountable noun. So that is one difference between British English and American English. Oh, good. What else do we have? Any other questions? Oh, Rosa says advice, paper, information, homework. Those are all good examples of, let's see, advice is uncountable. Paper is countable, though, because paper, you can count like 5 papers if you mean essay. Otherwise, we need pieces of paper. So there's 2 meanings of paper. One is countable, and one is uncountable. If you use paper to mean essay, like if you say, I have to write 3 papers this weekend, then it's countable. But if you're talking just about paper, like for a printer, for example, then it's uncountable. You would say, like printer paper, or drawing paper. What's a good example? I put too much paper in the printer. So in that case, it's uncountable. So that's a tricky one, but I'm glad that you mentioned that one, Rosa, because it is. This can be countable or uncountable, depending on the meaning. Again, an essay is a kind of homework. So that's another reason why paper, when it's this meaning, is countable and not uncountable. Whew, that was a good one. Let's see. So let's see, Victor says, when we add S at the end of a word, it refers to more units of the thing. For example, a car versus cars. Why is it that when we refer to hair, it is kind of the other way around? That's a great question. So let me write this on the board, or write this on the screen so we can see. So here, the example that Victor gave is car and cars. So car is normally a countable noun. So to make the plural, we add S. Hair is usually an uncountable noun. So when we're making it countable, we have to add S to show that we're changing it from uncountable to countable. So we're still talking about plural when we add the S, but we just want to show that it's countable. So I know it's a smaller number, but if I say 3 hairs, 1, 2, 3, it has to be, for hair or rice or sand, it has to be small enough of a number that it's possible to count. We don't have this problem with cars because cars are large objects that are easy to count. But hair, they're so small that you have to talk about just a small number of them for it to be used in a countable way. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, ask me again and I'll try it again. So good. Let's see. Oh, so Nora asked, what are some exceptions of ideas and concepts? So some exceptions, let's see, some synonyms for these words. Like for example, suggestion is similar to the word advice, but suggestion is a countable noun. So what else? Maybe, what else? That's the first one that I thought of. Let's see, I'll try to think of a few more. But again, it's just kind of case by case. If I come up with a few more over the course of the lesson, I'll think of more. I'll see if I can think of some synonyms for these that are countable. So good, and if you can think of any in the chat, we'll add some too. So we'll add any exceptions to the rule. I'll put them in this box here. So good. Yep, and Sudeep says a piece of advice. Yep, if you want to talk about these words like they are countable, you just have to add a unit of measurement. A piece of advice, a moment of communication, something like that. Good. All right. Oh, Hriyata Tlau asked, I have many advised. Is it correct? Nope, we can't say many advice. Many is for countable nouns, but advice is uncountable. So we have to say, I have a lot of advice. So we have to use a quantifier that is okay for countable nouns. Uncountable nouns. Many is just for countable nouns. So uncountable nouns, we have to use a different quantifier. And that's today's lesson that we're going to talk about in just a minute. When do we use many? When do we use much? A lot of, lots of, a few, and a little. All right, let's see what else do we have. All right, lots of great comments. Oh, we have a question from Caio Fonseca. What does it say? It says, can the hairdresser say, I cut 4 hairs today, meaning 4 different people? So that's an interesting question. Using hair to talk about whole heads of hair? But nope, we would not say that in English. So again, his question was, can the hairdresser say, I cut 4 hairs today? And I'll write that here. Nope, if you say, I cut 4 hairs today, it means 1, 2, 3, 4. If you want to talk about 4 people, we would probably use the unit of measure heads of hair. I cut 4 heads of hair today to mean people or full, I don't know, hairstyles. So good, very good. All right, what else do we have? Any other questions? Let's see. 3 pieces of homework? You could say 3 pieces of homework. I would probably say 3, maybe pieces is a little strange with homework. What could we say instead for homework? So I would probably say I gave 3, and I would be specific, like 3 exercises of homework or homework assignments. I might just change homework to an adjective and then put the countable noun after. Like I gave 3 homework assignments or exercises. That's what I would probably say. You could say piece of homework, but it's a little unusual to say piece with homework. I would probably, again, change homework to an adjective and then use a countable noun like assignments or exercises. Oh, just so you know, I don't know if you know this or not, but grammar is uncountable. So very, very often in class, people use this word incorrectly. They'll say like, we studied 3 grammars today. Nope. Maybe 3 types of grammar or 3 grammar points. But grammar is also an uncountable noun. And vocabulary, grammar and vocabulary. They're both uncountable. I know, isn't that terrible? Okay, let's see. 3 sheets of homework. If it's physical paper, that works, Jose. Good. Yep, 3 exercises, 3 grammar lessons. So good. Whew, that's a lot of information, I know, very quickly. But hopefully you saw the lesson from Abby 2 weeks ago, because this is just a quick review. Do you feel pretty good about when something is countable or when something is uncountable? I hope so, because I do want to teach a few more things today. We're going to move on, but of course I'll stop periodically. Periodically means every so often, to check the chat and make sure we don't have any big questions. All right, let's see. So my next question that a lot of students have is, why do we care if a noun is countable or uncountable? Like, why is it important? Why does it matter if a noun is countable or uncountable? And there's sort of 3 main reasons why we care if a noun is countable or uncountable. And the first reason I talked about a little bit before, we have to change the form of countable nouns when they are plural. So again, like cat, we're going to change to cats. Or man, we're going to change to men. So when countable nouns are plural, we have to change the form. Usually we just add s, but for some irregular nouns, we change the whole word. All right, that's the first reason why it's important. The second reason is we use different verbs for countable and uncountable nouns. So let's look at a couple examples. It says here singular countable nouns and all uncountable nouns take singular verbs. So singular countable nouns and all of the uncountable nouns take singular verbs. So let's look at some examples. Our first example says, swimming is fun. Swimming is an uncountable noun. Swimming is a gerund, that's why it's an uncountable noun. And let's look at the verb. The verb we say is. Is the singular form of the present be verb. Okay, let's take a look at the second one. We have time moves too quickly. So time, again, is an uncountable noun because it's a general word. And look at our verb. Our verb has an S. So you know that for present simple positive sentences, we have to add S for he, she, or it. So think of time as like a he, she, or it. We have this singular verb for this uncountable noun. Also, countable nouns, if they're singular, also take singular verbs. So I can say, the cat is on the sofa. Cat is a singular countable noun. And our second one, the man drives fast. Man is a singular countable noun. So again, we add S here. So swimming, time, the cat, the man, all of these words take singular verbs. But plural countable nouns take plural verbs. So plural countable nouns take plural verbs. So if I say cats with an S, I have to say the cats are on the sofa. Or if I say the men is plural for man, I can't say drives, I have to say drive, no S. Okay, so I think that you know this very well, but it is an important difference between countable and uncountable nouns. All uncountable nouns, we use singular verbs. All right, one more thing that's important to know, and this is today's focus. We use different quantifiers for countable and uncountable nouns. Quantifiers are those words like a lot of, lots of, much, many, a few, a little. These are examples of quantifiers, words that talk about how much of something, the amount of something. And countable and uncountable nouns sometimes require different quantifiers. Let's read the first example. It says here, I want to do a little studying before the test. A little is a quantifier that we use for uncountable nouns. Studying is a gerund, and gerunds are uncountable nouns. We can't say a little if you're talking about a countable noun. Okay, and it's the same with the word much. Much is just for uncountable nouns. Let's read the sentence. He didn't eat much rice last night. Rice is an uncountable noun. So we can say much, but we can't say many, because many is just for countable nouns. I bought many shirts at the mall. Shirts is countable, so we have to say many. We can't say much. I have one more example. It says he has a few grandchildren. Grandchildren is a countable noun, so we can say a few. We can't say a little. We have to say a few, because a few is for countable nouns, a little is for uncountable nouns. And don't worry if those rules are a little confusing, because these are just a few examples, and right now we're going to go to the presentation and learn all of these rules. But before we start, I'm just going to check the chat for questions. So let's see. Good, good, good. So lots of comments just back and forth. So good. Yep, countable nouns can be pluralized. That's right. I have no idea. Though Aaron said, I read about prehistoric man. They drew pictures, so they think important countable nouns and uncountable nouns. I have no idea if that's true, but that's really interesting. I don't know the history of countable and uncountable nouns. So Melina says, I had a great time. The A is with countable and singular. So that's a really good question, the word time. Time is usually uncountable. But there is another meaning of the word time that is countable. If you're talking about time, like clock time, clock time, clock time is uncountable. So for example, if I said, I don't have enough time to finish the homework. Here, time is uncountable. Actually, let me change this to a quantifier to make it very clear. I'll use much. I don't have much time to finish the homework. So here, because we're talking about minutes, hours, days, but we're using the general word time, it is uncountable. If we use the other meaning for time, like for example, I went to Disneyland 3 times. Here, I'm not talking about days or weeks or years. I'm talking about occurrences or events. And occurrences and events are countable. So this is a different meaning of the word time. Also, if you say I had a great time, This is like I had a great event or I had a great experience at this event. So in this case, it's a different meaning of the word time. We're not talking about hours or minutes or years or weeks. So great question, Melina. Okay, let's see what else we have. All right. Yep, Nitesh says some is okay with both countable and uncountable nouns. That's right. Words like some and any, we don't care about countable or uncountable. Instead, we care about positive, negative, and question. So, quantifiers are difficult for this reason. For some quantifiers, we care about countable or uncountable. Other quantifiers, like some or any, we care about positive, negative, question. So that's a little tricky. All right. Oh, and then Hriata Tlau asked about the difference between a few and few, and that's in our presentation. So let's go ahead and go to our presentation, and we can learn about all of these rules. Okay, here we go, our presentation for today. And we will learn the difference between a few and few. Okay, here we go. So, quantifiers. And again, this is Grammar 5-2 if you're studying in the pre-intermediate class on the Smrt website. Okay. First, we have a few example sentences. Let me hide my face for a moment here so we can read the sentences. It says, there aren't many birds around here during the winter. I guess there are only a few kinds of birds that can live in the cold. So we have two different quantifiers here. We have many and a few. Many and a few are both quantifiers that we use for countable nouns. Bird is a countable noun because we can see how many birds? 2. One bird, 2 birds. So we know that bird is a countable noun. And many and a few, again, are both quantifiers we can use for countable nouns. Many is for a big number. A few is for a small number. Okay, let's go to the next page here. Okay, we have a lot of and lots of. A lot of and lots of have the same meaning. They can be used both countable and uncountable nouns. So no problem countable, uncountable. Also no problem for positive, negative question. A lot of and lots of you can use for any kind of sentence. The tricky thing is that students very, very often try to put them together and say a lots of. No, you can't say this. Let me just strike through that real quick. There we go. So we can't say a lots of. We can say a lot of, no S, or lots of, no A. But don't try to mix them together and say a lots. That happens all the time in student writing because students forget kind of which one is correct, but they're both correct, but don't try to mix them together. Okay. So we have a few examples. It says here we spent a lot of money last night. Oh, his wallet is empty. We spent a lot of money last night. He ate lots of food at dinner time. So there are a lot of people on the train today. There are lots of fish in the lake. So I'm going to go back for a moment. Money is uncountable. Food is also usually uncountable. That one's kind of tricky, but here, uncountable. People is countable. And fish, the animal, not the food, fish, the animal, is countable. So we can see here we have examples for countable and uncountable. It doesn't matter. A lot of and lots of are okay for countable, okay for uncountable. And it just means a big number. There are lots of fish in the lake means a big number of fish. Okay, let's go to the next page here. Yep, and it just says, like I said before, a lot of and lots of can be used in any kind of sentence. Positive, negative, question, no problem. Okay, much and many get a little bit more difficult. So much and many have the same meaning as a lot of and lots of. So same meaning, it's a big number or big amount. However, we use many only with countable nouns. Only with countable nouns. If it's not countable, don't use many. If you're not sure, use a lot of. All right, let's look at some examples. It says there were many people at the party. Are there many animals at the zoo? Do you have many friends on Facebook? I have many things to do for homework tonight. Is that the last one? Okay. And you can see there are different kinds of sentences here. There were many people at the party is a positive sentence. Are there many animals at the zoo? This is a question. Do you have many friends on Facebook? This is also a question. And I have many things to do for homework tonight. This is a positive sentence. You can also use many for negatives. You could say, I don't have many things to do for homework tonight. That's okay too. Positive, negative, question, no problem. The only important thing is the noun must be countable. Much is kind of like the opposite. It also means a big number, so same meaning as many, but we use it with uncountable nouns. So much is used with uncountable nouns. It is common in negative sentences and questions. We don't usually use the word much in positive sentences. There are exceptions, but 90% of the time, we don't use much in positive sentences. If you say so much or too much, then it's okay to use in a positive sentence. Or in a few unusual constructions, we can use much in a positive sentence. But 90% of the time, don't use much with a positive sentence. Instead, you can use a lot of or lots of. Let's look at some examples. It says here, I didn't have much dinner last night. Dinner is an uncountable noun, so we use much before. Also, the sentence is negative, so it's very common to use much in negative sentences. Here's a question. hide my face again. Here we go. It says, did you study much English when you were a child? So you remember that English is a school subject. School subjects are usually uncountable. So we can say much English. And again, it's a question. It's very common to use much for negatives and questions. Here's another negative sentence. It says, there isn't much money in my bank account. Money, again, is an uncountable noun. So we can say much money. And again, much is usually for negatives and questions. Okay, one more example for a question. It says, is there much food in the refrigerator? Food is uncountable, so we can say much. All right, here's an example where we can't say much. It says here, we spent much, but then it's crossed out, lots of money yesterday. Money is uncountable, but the sentence is positive. Don't use much for positive sentences. Again, there's a few exceptions, but 90% of the time, don't use much for positive sentences. All right. One more example of when not to use much. It says there is much, a lot of, rice in the bowl. The grammar is positive, so we use a lot of or lots of. Even though rice is uncountable, the grammar is positive, so don't use much. All right. So it is okay to say so much in positive sentences, or also too much, like T-O-O. Here's an example for so much. The dog has so much hair. It's cute. Here the sentence is positive, but so much is one of the exceptions. It's okay to say so much. See, do we have another example? We do. There's so much sugar in this tea. Again, the sentence is positive, but it's okay to say much because we say so. Okay, so before we continue, I just want to give a couple examples with to. So much and too much are okay for positive sentences. Let's see, positive sentences. And I'll give just a quick example for each one. Maybe I have so much homework. Because homework we talked about a lot. Homework is uncountable. But if we say so, it's okay if it's a positive sentence. And the same with to. We can actually write the same exact sentence, but use to. I have too much homework. So if you say so or to, it's okay to use much in a positive sentence. All right. Let's stop for a moment and I'll look at the chat and see if we have any questions, because I'm sure this is a big topic. Let's see. Oh, so a few people gave examples of the word dream as a countable noun. So let me add that to our chart. So dream is an idea or a concept that is countable. So good job, you guys, thinking of another one. Very nice. Okay, let's see. What other comments and points do we have here? Oh, Sudeep asked about fish, the word fish. Fish is a tricky one because fish is sometimes countable and sometimes uncountable. Oops, let's put this on the same page. Here we go. So fish, if you're talking about the animal, is countable. For example, 3 fish swim in the lake. The difficult thing about the word fish is it's an irregular plural. Just like the word sheep. Sheep is another animal that's an irregular plural. So because it's irregular, it doesn't get the ES. So we don't say fishes. Fish, the food, like sushi, for example, is uncountable. So for example, maybe I didn't eat much fish at dinner last night. So as an animal, it's countable, and it's also irregular, so it doesn't get the ES. As a food, it's uncountable. Whew, tricky, huh? Fish is a difficult word. It's a good question. But we don't say fishes, ES. Nope. Okay, let's see. I think they answered the fish questions. So Abdullah says, I have a lot of pens on my desk. Perfect example. What about a lot without of? So Ben asked about using the word a lot without the word of. And this is okay if you don't put a noun after it. If you want a noun right here, then you have to say of. You can't say, for example, a lot books. That doesn't make any sense. We can't say that. But if you don't have a noun, it's okay just to say a lot. Like if you're using it, for example, as an adverb, like I swim a lot. Or if you say I ate a lot. Here, we understand that I ate a lot of food, but if you don't say food, then you don't have to say of. You can just kind of think of this. Here you could think of it as a pronoun, or this one, you could kind of think of it as an adverb describing the word swim, like how much do you swim? Good. All right, good question. Let's see, that was Ben's question. Victor has a question. It says, what is the difference between lots of and loads of? Lots of and loads of are the same. Let me write those for you. Loads of is just a little bit more slang, that's all. But the meaning and the use is the same. You could say loads of or a load of, no problem. The meaning's the same, it's a large number, but it's slang. The second part of your question is a few versus few and a little versus little, which we'll talk about in just a couple minutes. So I'm going to save that question because it's in our presentation. Good. So Aaron says, Abby is loved by many students. Let me write that here. And that's very true. We all miss her too. So Abby is loved by many students. Just one thing we have to fix though. Many is a big number, right? And student is countable. Let's add an S. Because remember, when we have plural countable nouns, we have to change the form. So good job. Oh, so Nor says fish is countable? Yeah, sometimes. I know, crazy, huh? So good. What other questions do we have? Good, good. You're answering each other's questions. Very nice. All right. Oh, good. And so you guys are already talking about the difference between a few and few. So there we go. Okay. So I think maybe it's time to continue the presentation so we can talk about those. Okay. A few and a little and little. So let's keep going with the presentation. It says here English speakers often ask questions that begin with how much or how many. We have a few examples. How much pizza? How many people? How much coffee? How many pairs of shoes? And again, just use much for uncountable nouns and many for countable nouns. So here's a few and a little. And this will have to be our last thing for today because we're pretty much out of time. Here we go. A few and a little have the opposite meaning of many and much. Again, we use a few with countable nouns and a little with uncountable nouns. So for example, she only spent a few dollars. It's a small number of dollars. We stayed there for a few hours, a small number of hours. Do you have a few minutes to help me? A small number of minutes, maybe 5 minutes. For uncountable nouns, we use a little. She only spent a little money. Money is uncountable. And again, it means a small amount. We stayed there for a little while. Do you have a little time to help me? Again, these are all small amounts, but because money, while, and time are uncountable, we say a little. If you say few or little without the A, this means almost none or almost nothing, like almost zero. Almost zero. Like he has little hair means he has almost zero hair. Almost zero hair. I have little energy means I have almost zero energy. There were few people in the theater, almost zero. Maybe there are 500 seats in the theater and there's six people. So it's like, almost zero. The good student made few mistakes on the test. Almost zero. Maybe just 1 or 2. So we can compare the differences here. I have a little money. Like, this is a positive thing. I have a little money. Maybe $10. I have little money. It's like, almost zero. Not enough. So in this case, this is a bad thing. I have little money. This sort of puts an opinion on the situation. One more example, there are a few nice students in my class. So a few just means a small number, maybe 5, maybe 6. There are few nice students in my class, almost zero, maybe not enough. Again, if you say few or little, you're kind of adding your opinion here to say that it's almost zero or it feels like almost zero. So that's the difference between a few and a little, and few and little. So I'll have to stop for today. We're out of time, but Abby will be back here next week, we hope. So wish her some good health. It was great seeing everybody again, and I hope that I can see all of you again very soon. So thank you so much for coming and studying with me today. Have a great day, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.